Hello, everybody. This is Ben Nelm speaking, and I'm here with Dr. Aaron Cusano. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, we're here to give a little preview of what we're going to be doing for the AAMD 2016 contouring workshop. We're pretty excited about this. We think this is the best agenda. Aaron and I have both done this for the last 3 years, and I think by far and away we've been listening to the feedback from every prior year and trying to make each subsequent year better. And I think we're really going to hit it out of the park on this one. So what we're going to do today is just give an overview of what we're going to do. First of all, the data set, and I have a picture here of a bunch of very a comprehensive data set that Dr. Cusano has prepared for us. Aaron, you want to explain a little bit about this data set?
Yeah, this data set is actually one in which we're focusing on pretty much all of the intra-abdominal organs. And what I've done is basically outlined all of the structures that we use when we're creating a plan, and really paid sort of attention to the anatomy of it, so that we're specifically outlining the organs as opposed to using something like a bowel bag or a much sort of general contour.
Yeah, and this is going to be a great one. I think 2 years ago we did some head and neck, which was very, very interesting. Last year, some of the anatomy in the brain region. This year, larger volumes, and we're real interested to see what the variability are. Now, just so everyone know, don't let this picture scare you. There are a number of organs here, and Dr. Cusano is going to cover all of these in his lecture material, but we are going to interactively with the class contour and focus on 3 of these to begin with, and others time permitting. And those 3 are going to be the rectum, the sigmoid, and the small bowel. And so we always in these workshops focus on organs at risk, not targets, because that's a whole different art. But Aaron, what do you say? In your opinion, why do you think the contouring of organs at risk is so important?
Well, I would say as a radiation oncologist, I think organs at risk I place equal importance as far as the accuracy of those contours that I do for target volumes. I think first and foremost in the area that we're practicing in, when we're using a lot of advanced techniques like IMRT and VMAT and sort of all these approaches that we have very conformal volumes, we really have to pay attention to the data that we're feeding into the system. And when we're trying to avoid something, I really, really want to make sure that what I'm saying I'm avoiding is what it is. And then more importantly, if I have a great coverage, everything everything has its trade-offs. And so when I'm thinking about things like target volume coverage, I really want to make sure that everything from an organ at risk standpoint is accurate, because that is equally important when a radiation oncologist is assessing a plan. And I think if we don't pay enough attention to that, you could really end up with a plan that isn't what you think it is.
Yeah, I really second that thought. I mean, what I think of it, it's in terms of it's a 3-dimensional design, and probably the most important thing might be the contouring, because as optimization techniques, delivery techniques get more and more conformal, you get, the asymptotic limit of this is surgery, and you want to surgically, virtual surgery, put energy into the tumor and carve it out from the organs at risk. So the accuracy of contouring, I think, is an underserved part of our market right now, and both I and Aaron have a real passion for this. Why don't you remind everyone, Aaron, how did you get involved in the workshop? How did you, and what's your experience in the art of contouring?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate to be involved with the workshop and working with you for this will be the 3rd year in a row, and I really got involved with this early in residency when, as a radiation oncologist, I think you're in this world that's entirely different, and it's nothing like you were trained in. None of this information is anything that you were trained in medical school, but really basic things like anatomy are a skill set that you can bring to the table, and so early on in residency, I had some amazing mentors, and actually our residency was structured such that I spent a fair amount of time in dosimetry, and you really start to appreciate when you're looking at a DVH everything that goes into that DVH. And so one of my mentors, his sticking point was like, for every pelvic and abdomen plan, it was necessary for the resident to really pay attention and contour the different portions of the bowel. And I got to say that, at the time it seemed pretty laborious, but really when you look at a DVH and think about all that go into it, I'm glad that I had that experience, and it really carries over into the work that I do every day in assessing the quality of a plan. Because as you mentioned, everything that we feed into this, ideally, it's giving the tumor a radiation dose, but staying away from organs, and more importantly, if we are not naming those organs correctly, we could easily get into a situation where you have a plan that's a bad plan.
Well, absolutely, and especially if we want to do a retrospective analysis of outcomes or side effects, what good are those analyses if we haven't done our best to actually delineate the organs that we're assessing, right?
Yeah,
So
I would agree. It struck me that the trials that we see out there, when we try to follow them very, very closely, they provide a fair amount of information with regards to how you're going to contour your CTV and your GTV, but there is just blanket sort of vague statements when it comes down to the OAR, which really struck me when you're trying to compare things like acute and long-term side effects, not only cancer control. And all of that is going to be dependent on having an accurate representation of what the OARs are.
you better believe it. So we are lucky to have Dr. Cusano on our team and his passion. I'm glad thank your mentor for all of us. And one thing that we want to do with these workshops is to maybe try to make that an infectious passion, so that people realize how important this is. As one of the first steps of treatment planning, this is a step that's maybe, in my opinion, more critical than any other. Well, let me give a brief overview of how this workshop's going to go. We've been chatting a little bit about why it's important. Let's see, how are we going to do this year? And it's definitely different. It's an evolving workshop. This year it's a little bit longer because we didn't want to be rushed. Every year we get more feedback that people want more hands-on. This year we're really lucky to have the vendor MIM donate software and workstations for this workshop. So that's going to be really nice. So here's a workshop flowchart that I'm going to go through really quick. We're going to do introductions. And by the way, this workshop is the Saturday prior to the official opening of the AAMD meeting, which I believe is Sunday. So it's the Saturday. You can look on the AAMD website, register, let's sell out, tell all your friends and neighbors. Anyway, we're going to do an introduction, a welcome, tell who we are. I should also mention it's me and Aaron. We're going to have Christy Smith helping out, and then a MIM staff, either two or three, helping proctor the room and collect data. So let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do introductions, and we're going to outline the objectives. It's going to take just maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The blue things are more lecture, and the orange on this flowchart are interactive. So the first bit is, we realize everyone's going to be running on these contouring workstations with software they may or may not be familiar with. So we wanted to give maybe half an hour up to an hour for people to get trained by the MIM staff on how to do manual contouring. And the contouring we're doing here is going to lend itself to manual and not auto segmentation or anything like that. So I think just getting real quick boot camp. I have never used MIM, but I saw them give a demo to me. It's going to be extremely easy. And I know Dr. Cusano's familiar with MIM, so he'll be another person in the room who'll be walking around and helping people out. So first, it's just basic training on the software we're going to be running. Next is the interactive software. So you're going to sit there, and we are going to focus on the rectum, sigmoid, and small bowel. And if people finish early, we'll probably have an order maybe of other things we can look at. Large bowel, maybe pancreas. We've got a lot of things we can study here. But you're going to finish these organs and then give them to us as DICOM RT structure sets. We'll have either a shared Dropbox, will make it easy for people to save their work, or we'll be walking around with thumb drives if we have to. So we're going to give you as much time as you need to complete those contours. Now here's where it gets more interesting. Parallel tracks here. Everyone stays in, and here's where Dr. Cusano does his lectures. And if you haven't been to one of these workshops, this is why you want to come. It's a complete coverage of the basic anatomy, but then with a tilt towards how do you actually contour this stuff, and especially on axial CT. Some years we may study MR. This year it's CT only. So it's going to be a really valuable lecture. It's very vibrant. I think Dr. Cusano brings a lot of special media and teaching techniques in that I think you're going to enjoy. While you're all learning, Christy and I are going to be off crunching numbers. We're going to take the structures you did, and we're going to use the structure software by Standard Imaging, who's donating it for the workshop. And we're going to be producing comprehensive reports. So for every organ, we're going to have quantitative assessment and comparison tools with full PDF reports that we're going to make for each participant. We're going to be doing those in real time so that when we get post-lecture, we're going to give them to you. So I'm going to summarize the results, show the variability throughout the class. Everyone should know your results are completely anonymous. No one will see your contours. But we do want an idea for each of the organs that we're focusing on, how much variability was there, not only in the total volume, but in how well it matched the contours that Aaron prepared. We're going to give you your reports also. Now that's going to give you an idea of, how well did I do on at least these 3 critical structures? Then we go back to an interactive portion. You're back on your MIM station. Now you get to open up the contours you made. And then the MIM staff are going to open up the gold contours. So you're going to get to see your small bowel contours directly overlaid with the gold standards, your sigmoid, etc. So this is interactive. So you'll be able to go through at your own time, study them, window level, zoom, pan, drill in, drill out, do whatever you want. And Aaron will be in the room to answer questions. And I think whenever there's a really good question, he might go up and lecture to the whole class on it as a general thing. But otherwise, each of the participants will get some private TLC here. If they have a question about why they drew a contour that was maybe different than his, he can come and point at the screen and tell people. So we really want this to be an active discussion, interactive part. And then finally, after we finish those 3 organs, then with the time remaining, we're going to let Aaron just lecture on some of the organs. If you look back to the previous picture, there were a whole lot. So he'll be able to talk about maybe some special cases or some of the other organs of interest. And that will basically be the agenda. We have expanded it this year from 4 hours to 6. Whether it's really going to take 6 or not, we don't know. We just didn't want to be rushed. So we hope everyone, we do feel like this is going to be a big step forward in the workshop. They've been successful in the past, but we're always looking for ways to make them better. And we think we're going to do it this year. So that's it. I want to close with it. Aaron, if you were to name what your goals or what do you want each of the attendees to leave with this year, how would you say that?
Yeah, you know what? I remember very vividly being a third-year med student and doing my first rad-onc rotation, and you don't get to do much other than sort of follow people around and try and understand what's going on. And I was given the opportunity to play around and try to do some contours, basically just to put in OARs, and was given a reference. And I remember doing that and trying my hardest to get my contours to look like what I was told was the gold standard, what somebody else had put in. That was the quote right way to do it. And that was really frustrating because I don't think I took the time, nor did I have the background to sort of think about why my contour would look the same as theirs, other than just trying to copy something. So at the end of this, I'd like to, we're going to have a very practical discussion with anatomical examples and sort of tips and tricks and ways to think about these things so that the person comes out pretty confident that regardless of having something as a reference, they'll have a skill set that they can take and feel comfortable with that approach and those tools, that they're going to have a pretty good representation of the organs that we're going to be contouring.
Perfect. I think that's a great goal. And yeah, just to reiterate, we're working with a singular data set here so that we can compare everyone to each other and to a gold standard. But what is going to be taught to you are general tips and tricks that should work for any CT volume for any patient that covers these critical anatomy. So it's not going to be teaching you how to match a golden contour. It's going to be using that as one example of why things were done a certain way. And so, yeah, I think in summary, I would echo that. I want people to leave this, well, with 2 things really, with the practical skills that have been improved for at least 3 and more organs of the GI here, but also just a reawakening of how important it is to care about how accurate you do your work, and to maybe spread that interest amongst your colleagues, be they dosimetrists, physicists, or physicians. Bring that passion back to work. And so we're really hoping for a renaissance of effort put into contouring accuracy. and we're going to just do our small part here with the contouring workshop. So we hope to see you on that Saturday. And this is Ben saying goodbye. Dr. Casano.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing all you guys in Atlanta.